awesome to
I know, rare occasion that happens, which is funny, but we're always yapping at these events and in our separate tents and whatnot, So
I think the last time you and I hunted together, it was at the Button Dump. So
I think so too, and I still have that footage on my phone that I never released because my dump digging videos didn't do well when I, and we found some incredible stuff.
Oh my gosh,
considering,
so much.
I mean, it's not colonial, and I think that's what my audience has gotten used to, and they've gotten used to me exploring and detecting, so it didn't really do well. And because of that, I've actually, when I give people advice when they start their channels, I say diversify sooner than later, because I think I was only maybe a year into YouTube when I dropped those videos, and I noticed there was a significant lack of views that I, compared to what I usually get. And it's just because that wasn't their thing, because I was such a niche already, like colonial relic hunting.
Yep.
So looking back, I wish I diversified much earlier,
My dump videos have never done as well either, and then at other times, you just never know. It's always my creek videos and my river videos that have done well, and beach videos. It's just,
see, that's nice.
You really never know.
You love being at the water and stuff, but not everyone wants to get their hands dirty. Maybe that's part of it.
Right.
I don't know.
Everyone, well, they don't like my metal detecting videos. They all like my mudlarking. Well, some of my metal detecting videos go well, but mostly my mudlarking and dump digging. So.
It's weird, some mudlarking will just go crazy.
I've seen it, and you know why I think that might be? I was just kind of having this conversation in my head yesterday, like why mudlarking does so well is because it's something that hypothetically someone can think they can just run out and do that day. They don't understand the skill that it requires quite yet. They don't understand the eyes they need to grow, if you will. And so it's something,
and they don't have to use
far less
machine
intimidating,
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it's not as intimidating as, say, watching somebody swing a metal detector and mess with all the settings, and you think, whoa, maybe that's not for me. Maybe that's more than I can, chew when I bite it off, so to speak. But yeah, no, mudlarking, though, you really do need an eye for it. I mean, I'll watch some of the videos where the mudlarkers will just zoom in, and do you see the find? Do you see the find? I'm like, no, I see like 10 different things, but I don't know what you're talking about, So you guys really train your eyes very well.
Yeah, and that's something I do try to say, anybody who is coming up to visit and I'm going to bring out, I'm like, if you remember the highlights, the find it, you want to look at those. And but basically too, it's great because you can take people out that can just do it. I don't need to borrow them a machine for them to use, and I mean I have extras, but I don't have to worry about the technology aspect of getting them up and running when I can go, all right, we're going out.
Yeah, because they'll find something. It's not going to be as trained an eye as yours will be, but they'll at least go home with something, probably.
Yeah,
right.
But if I spot stuff too, like what I'll do is I'll be like, okay, I found something. All right, I'm going to give you a clue. It's in this area and it's blue, or it's in this area and it's round, or and then their eyes, they can find it on their own, and their eyes can get accustomed to it as well.
Yeah.
So.
That's a good way to teach people, I think. Clearly my eyes aren't very good if anyone watched my YouTube video on bone yet. I figured this was a perfect segue into a good story.
Yes.
That's a good story, but hold that thought.
I'll hold on to it, but you guys just remember my eyes are crap. So we're just going to say that my eyes are not very good, evidently. We'll pin that. We'll put a pin in that for later.
Let's put a pin in that, because for our newer listeners, I know a lot of people know you, Stef, and some of them are familiar with your YouTube channel and all of that and all that you do. Because for those of you that don't know, Stef is a detect-spert, MindLab detect-spert, but we'll get more into that in a little bit. Stef, do you mind just starting from the beginning for those that don't know you? Tell them a little bit about yourself, how you got started into metal detecting, treasure hunting, and your journey, maybe what you started with, how you just a brief introduction, let them get to know you better and where you're from.
Sure. Well, to start off with, I'm from Connecticut. I've lived in Connecticut most of my life, except for a brief stint in Boston for a few years, which I hated because I loved being in the country, out in the sticks where I am in Connecticut. And, I'd always been interested in history, but it would have to be tangible. Like it'd have to be on a field trip or something as a kid. But history classes, I'd have one history class when I was in high school that I would literally sleep through by mistake, but I would sleep through it. And I remember late one night when I was, my late 20s, I think this is 2011, 2012, something like that, I was up late watching YouTube because I couldn't sleep. And I tripped across a video of some guy in a river finding a couple hundred huge silver coins. And I think we all know who that is. That was Aquachigger, his silver cache in the river. And I got down this rabbit hole of watching video after video of his. And I was just fascinated with the whole idea. I said, why don't I do this? This seems awesome. But at the same time, I was kind of intimidated because he knew he could pick up any random piece of metal and just spout off about what it was. I'm like, how am I going to learn all this? And not to mention the detector aspect too, because I have a propensity where I can just touch an electronic and it breaks. I don't know why. So it wouldn't be until 2016 that I bought my first metal detector, which was a Garrett Ace 250. Then quickly upgraded to the Ace 400, then the AT Max, and then I switched over to my MindLab Equinox 600. So I used that pretty much from the time it was released in 2018 until I just started using the Manticore last year, which I love. But my focus has pretty much been just I love spending a lot of time in the woods as much as I can, cornfields where I know home sites once were. That's my jam. Is anything colonial New England that's what I'm looking for. The oldest stuff possible, even if it's a sparse, like early settler site. I'd rather go home with 3 things that are 400 years old than 30 things that are 100 years old. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And as we touched on, I am a MindLab Detexpert, so I'm one of their brand ambassadors. I help out at events. So I get to go to more events than I would normally be able to, which is really nice. And, usually if we have a new product on the way, I'll be able to take a look at it. I might be one of the first to get it, even if it's been released. Sometimes there's a bit of a delay getting things, of course, because the demand is so high. So it's always nice to have that so I can help people learn their tools better a little bit when they can get their hands on them. So, yeah, I'm trying to think if I missed anything for a brief synopsis, but that's what I do, basically. And, of course, I got the YouTube channel. I've had my Stef Diggs channel up for almost 5 years now. And I put out videos typically every week. That's me.
Fantastic. That's a good summary.
All right.
Very
Cool.
good, very good. Very good, very good. So you were talking about my lab and being at the different hunts. I know we put a pin in the eyesight one, but can you kind of talk about so if MindLab does days at Bone, what do they kind of consist of at the events? Like what are you doing with the people that are come up to the tents and?
Yeah, well, every event's a little bit different, but generally we do have a full booth ready. We have a little table for kind of your MindLab tune-up where we will have we have usually at least a few spare arm cuffs should anybody need one, like you. Or, we've got washers, bolts, nuts, all those types of things that are just regular maintenance of the machine that maybe people hadn't thought about, And they'll come on over to ask us plenty of questions, which we are more than happy to help them with. We've always got the prize wheel going with a bunch of swag. There's no pay to play or anything like that. It's all free. Just come on over, spin the wheel, and you win what you spin. It's always a lot of fun. That keeps us busy all day. And, on many occasions, Debbie will bring out the panning tub like we did at Bone for one of the days that we had the booth set up. And it was a hit. It always is. So she'll have a couple of time clocks set up to do panning contests and stuff. And you give people demonstrations and kind of show them how to pan. And it's funny, she's tried to show me how to pan, and I'm not very good at it because it takes more finesse than what I've got. So I got to learn that. But yeah, just, we stay busy over there for sure. Lots of questions coming in all the time. So, typically if I'm at an event, I'm just working the whole day. And eventually, if it's several days, Debbie will say, hey, you can go off and hunt this day or whatever. And then, that's how we ended up hunting together. So that was fun. But yeah, no, it's just a lot of questions coming and going and a lot of people loving to spin the wheel and panning for gold. So we have a really good time with it.
The panning for gold. I miss every Saturday that's done at Bone. I've missed every Saturday one.
Oh, no.
Gypsy, did you get to do it?
We had it out Saturday, yeah.
Gypsy?
Earth to Gypsy.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Did you get to try any of the gold panning that the Mind Lab set up?
I didn't. I wish I would. I feel bad going over there, and I don't want to take away from their time with customers and all of that. But that's one of the things that I'm planning on doing soon is I've got a contact that has a gold claim that I'm going to be going and doing some YouTube series of gold panning, high banking, all of that good fun stuff. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, gold panning is so much fun for everyone. And do y'all use like a pay dirt? What do you use in there?
Yeah, pay dirt, as far as I understand. I'm not sure if Debbie puts her own pickers in there. Like, for those who don't know, a picker is a really small nugget. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's mostly pay dirt that we use. So, so yeah, it's a lot of fun though. I mean, like you say, you didn't want to take time away from other people. It's kind of funny because that was really rolling all day on Saturday. I mean, it was just consistent. And so I'm doing like prize wheel and questions. Debbie's, stuck at the gold panning and we're just kind of making it work, It was busier than we thought it would even be, but it's always a blast. It's always a hit. So that's why, Debbie.
That's fantastic. I can imagine though how hard that is to set up and to set up all that big trough that you have to set up and the gold panning with the pay dirt in there and the water. How does that usually work to bring that water? How do you get the water in there? Do you have to bring jugs of water?
I don't recall how it was done at the last Bone, and I think that's the last time we had the panning set up when I was with her. But this time we actually had to have Justin, who's one of the organizers of Bone, run out and get us like 30, 40 gallons of water. He kind of gave us this look like, are you serious? And but he still did it for us because he's awesome.
That's a lot of water.
Yeah, that, and then you got an additional, 20 pounds of dirt in there or something. So it's a lot, and then when we were moving it, which I've never had the pleasure of trying this before, but I was trying to help her, move it back into the trailer when we were all finished for the day. You have to very carefully tip out the water because you don't want any of that pay dirt to go anywhere. And so very carefully tipping it over for like 5-10 minutes until it's drained. You pull it back, do it again, make sure you're not flooding the area you're in. And then very carefully with the two of you, one pulls, one pushes, and somehow we get that onto the trailer. I don't know how Debbie does that by herself, and I'm sure she's done it many times by herself before, but she's like Superwoman underneath her skin. I don't know how she does it.
I don't know how she does what she does. She's Wonder Woman.
Oh, she's amazing.
Kudos to her. Yeah. She is flipping amazing. And I know that she's grateful and thankful when you were there helping and along with, I'm sure, the other experts that help her at other events. And same with like at the Garrett tents, we don't do the gold panning things. I mean, it would be fun to add something like that, but people don't realize all the work that goes into these events. And Debbie does just such an amazing job,
she doesn't skimp on anything. I mean, the tent size alone, I mean, when we do test lanes and everything, that's the only thing we didn't have set up this time were test lanes, where we'll bury a bunch of targets and tell you what it is so that you can test it out with your machine. That was the only thing we did not do. But everything else was full booth like we usually do. And, I'd have to say a lot of people kind of try to calculate in their head exactly how long it takes us to set up and stuff. And I think some people really do get it because I can't tell you how many people come over to the tent and say, thank you for doing all this. And it's such a nice thing to hear, especially when you're exhausted. You're on like the third day of the event or something. You're losing sleep and your feet hurt, your back hurts and stuff. So we really appreciate, the recognition that we do get. And, yeah, we have a blast doing it. We really do. We have a great time.
I mean, every time I looked over, the tent was slamming, and I